Hi everyone, this is Raquel from scrapcosy, and today I'm going to show you with this card two techniques, which are embossing and distressing with inks. These are the stamps that I'm going to use, some letters and some numbers. And this is the embossing powder that I'm going to use, copper and Versamark ink. This is the card base, and this is how I'm going to stamp. Happy 25 or so. I only have one P, but the second one is actually a D upside down. I can't find a substitute for the O, so I'll have to stamp it twice. Now with this acrylic block, what I'm doing is getting all the stamps together. The next step is stamping with embossing ink. But first, I'll clean the paper with talcum powder. The reason for doing that is that once you clean with the talcum powder and then you stamp with embossing ink, the embossing powder will only stick to where you actually stamped. You can use a piece of cotton or you can use an anti-static pad like I'm doing here. This one was made by my friend Aida and it works really well. Now it's time for stamping with Versamark ink or any other embossing ink that you have. So you need to press the ink against the stamps and then place it where you want it to be stamped. Press it down to ensure that the ink transfers to the paper and then lift. Since I only had one O, I'll have to stamp it now again. And I will do the same for the dot. There is plenty of time to do that because embossing ink and like other pigment inks, it takes time to dry. So you have plenty of time to then apply the embossing powder without any problems. To apply embossing powder, I put a scrap piece of paper underneath and then I throw the powder on it. And that way you can get all the powder back to the pot. And if you get embossing powder sticking where it shouldn't, you can remove it with a brush. And now that this is done, what I'll be doing is using the heat tool to set it up. And you'll see that the color will change and it will change to something shiny. If you feel that there are some parts which still need a little bit of more embossing powder, then just try to stamp again with Versamark ink, cover with powder, and heat again. Or use the Versamark pen, which actually has the same ink as the pad, and do the same, cover with embossing powder, and heat emboss again. Once you finish stamping, you can clean your stamps with a baby wipe, and then dry them with a paper towel. Now it's time to distress with inks. I'm using here walnut stain on the left, vintage photo on the middle, and brush corduroy on the right. To apply the ink, I use a sponge tower. These inks actually react with water and they have many other properties, but for here I'm just using them to etch the paper. It's better that if you apply them with circular motions. And you can keep on applying ink and ink until you feel that it has the look that you like. Now that I'm done with that part, I'm going to etch as well the base of the card. Now I'm getting some old book pages and I'm ripping them off to create a border up and down the card. So I'm taking a big piece there and I will divide it in half. To do that, I'll use a ruler, a pencil, and a pair of scissors. Before sticking them to the card, I'm going to etch them again with some distress ink. Once I like how they look like, I'm going to stick them to the card using some glue. This adhesive, when it works very well, and it's very convenient. So I'm just sticking them up and down, and then I will cut the excess with some scissors. To finish it, I will add some more ink to the edges. And once I'm happy with the ink, I'm going to assemble the card. I will stick the front to the card base, but first I'm going to fix that little thing on the corner. I'm adding a little bit more ink on the borders. And you could finish the card here. However, I'll be adding some more decorations. So I'm getting again that piece of book that I had, and I'm inking that up. What I will be doing is a little bit of confetti, using a hole punch. I may not need that many, but hey. Now what I'll be doing is playing around with them and putting them in the card and see what design do I like more or less. Okay, here it was the design that I liked. So my idea here was using masking tape to put it on top of the dots and pull them out at the same time. And I'm putting that into the sweater, so then I would make it less sticky. Up until this point, more or less well. I removed the dots and I had the design what I wanted. But first I had to cover those marks left by the masking tape on top of my card. Afterwards I would use tacky glue to put on every single dot, and then replace them on top of the card. The idea was removing now the masking tape and the confetti would stay. But that didn't happen. So as I was left with the marks where they should have been, I just used them as a guide and put more tacky glue on top, and cover every point of glue with the remaining of the dots. You see, I did a lot, but I finally used them all. To bring it all together, I'll use a pen which is in copper, and I'll do little dots on everything. And finally, with a little bit more of distress ink, vintage photo this time, I'm just going through the different dots and the border, and that should be it. So this was the card for today. I hope you like it. Here are some pictures of the details so you can see them. And if you like it, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!